Hi, I am Max from Max Out Creative. We max out marketing dollars in creative ways to get the most out of them. Today, we're talking about running sales and specials for small businesses. How do you feel about that? Are you one of those small businesses that runs sales and specials? Are promotions still even worth it, or do they backfire? That's what we're going to dive into today. For some quick context, you'll see lots of survey headlines saying customers like deals. In fact, a recent roundup found about 2/3 of consumers say they value personalized offers and discounts, and 60% value loyalty programs. Pay attention. That tells us discounts aren't going away. Customers notice them, okay? But here's the thing. What's good for short-term attention isn't always good for long-term brand health. Research on discounting and brand equity shows frequent or deep discounts can train customers to wait for sales and can even signal lower quality. Think lower end cars. Anyway, in people's minds, that's a problem for some consumers. In other words, too many promos can cheapen your brand. There's also decades of pricing research comparing high-low discounting versus everyday low pricing. So that's also called EDLP, everyday low pricing. Results are mixed by category, but classic studies show EDLP can increase perceived fairness and reduce promo costs. So just to recap there, because I know that gets a little confusing, high-low discounting, you're all over the board with your discounts, versus everyday low pricing. Okay, maybe that's a tagline. You get the lowest price here. And I don't ever want any of our clients to compete on lowest price. But some people do, and they make billions of dollars. Ask Walmart if it works. High-low can juice traffic, but risks margin erosion and deal-seeking behavior. The lesson for small businesses, promos work best when they're strategic and rare, not constant. Now, let me share two real examples from my own world. I have one former client in the Midwest who consistently runs promotions for his home improvement business. And I have another client in the Midwest, still one of my legacy clients, who doesn't ever run promotions at all. The one that doesn't run promos does way better, way better, 8 times the volume. My feeling is that once you start running promotions, you can never stop. Let me say that again. Once you start running promotions, you can't stop. And frankly, a lot of promotions feel slimy nowadays, don't they? Many are just simple math where, in all likelihood, you're paying the same amount. So buy 2 windows, for example, and get the third one 40% off, or whatever the math would be to work it out. So really, they're not getting anything. Those are prominent in marketing today. There's a few companies that do that all the time. How does that grab you? How do you want to do business with somebody just because they gave you the deal, or you want to do business with somebody because they're a reputable company and they're going to stand behind their work? I know we could argue that both ways. And here's where regulation intersects with marketing, by the way. When you see ads like that, like whole house of siding for $79 per month on a billboard, which I just saw, the monthly payment framing can be misleading if the terms aren't crystal clear. What's that include? Siding is typically in what's called a square, 10 by 10 area. Okay, so let's just say a tiny ranch-styled house, like there's a lot of those in the Midwest. So is that what they're talking about? Or are they talking about a 2-story house with a 3-car garage? It doesn't matter to them, because I'm sure there's tiny print on the billboard, which passes the compliance issues. But which do you feel is better? Federal regulators have been pushing for transparent pricing and clear triggering term disclosures when advertisers tout monthly payments or no interest offers, especially around buy now, pay later style claims and financing, which home improvement is, my gosh, that's saturated with those kind of claims and ads. And if you mention payment amounts, you're expected to disclose the key terms prominently, not bury them, which everybody's ignoring. That's the direction of recent guidance and rules. To me, that sort of advertising sketchy at best. I'd much rather see marketing that speaks to the customer's problem, clearly explains the solution, and then is backed by workmanship or product warranties and guarantees. To me, that's way better to market, easier, in fact, to market than coming up with a new promo every month. Which is better, regular promotions or no promotions? Evidence suggests frequent discounting can erode brand value and train price-sensitive behavior, while stable, fair, everyday pricing can protect margins and trust. That said, occasionally, clearly framed, high-integrity offers with a transparent term can work well, especially for seasonal peaks or excess inventory, as long as they don't become your default. I remember a radio station that I did business with buying ads for one of our clients, and they would have, every year, they would have their one-day sale. That's what they called it, the one-day sale. And there was no limit on what you could buy. So you could literally buy the next year's advertising at a tremendously discounted rate. And so I've often thought about that. How would that work for a service-based business? Let's say you're a pool cleaner. Could you do a one-day sale? Could you let all your customers know via your CRM, via text, via email, and then pack your schedule for the next year with your one-day sale? Like, hey, you got to make a decision on this particular day. We're going to do it in October 10th, whatever the day is. And if you book for next year, our annual maintenance plan, you get it for this price, but only on that day. I feel like that works. I know it worked for that particular radio station. It worked really well. They signed contracts all day long, and they'd put a couple $1 million worth of business on their books for the following year. Just to recap here, lead with value, not gimmicks. Make your core offer clear. The problem you solve, the craftsmanship, the warranty. Again, we've done videos on answering customer questions for your social media. This could tie into that. Use promotions sparingly and transparently. If you mention a monthly payment, disclose the terms in plain English. Don't be one of those bait and switch types of tacky companies. They may do well, but I mean, that's constant pressure, man. Just stay up with that, coming up with the next scheme to trick people. And protect your reference price too. Too many deals anchor customers to expect lower prices forever. And that's not good. And if you do run a promo, tie it to real value, limited inventory, or seasonal timing, or add-on service, or a bundle that genuinely helps the customer, not fake math. And measure outcomes beyond the rush. Watch lead quality, close rate, margins. You can do that with a CRM. I'm a big fan of CRMs. We offer one, the Max Out CRM, based on the high level platform. And I think it's fantastic. So if your brand stands for quality, clarity, and guarantees, you don't have to live on promos. Use them like a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. Bottom line, consumers respond to deals. Yes, there's no question. Constant discounting is not a strategy. It can devalue your brand and damage margins. And if you're just a little bitty business, it's you and a few people, or maybe just you, don't start by discounting everything. Start by showing the value, solving a problem, transparency, no gimmicks. If you got anything out of this, or it made you think about something just a little bit differently, would you do me a favor and like and subscribe? Thank you very much.